West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life. Mbappe! Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Lamine Yamal, Antoine Griezmann. La Liga comes to StarTimes.
A wild celebration!
The big stars, the tiki-taka football, Real Madrid and Barcelona live in your living room.
Real Madrid, the team of dreams!
Catch all 380 games live and in HD on Sports Premium Channel 259 and Channel 246 starting this August 15th. Subscribe to StarTimes Classic or Smart Bouquet at 36,000 Uganda shillings to enjoy the football experience affordably. StarTimes Football and Limited Passion.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region. West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are back into the second half of the first hour. This is still the KOKOLIRIKO live show on channel 477 on StarTimes and on 0073, that is on Zuku. Not forgetting Azam, the channel number is 369. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board in a special way from wherever you're watching us from. And this is the Wednesday edition of the show where we discuss lots of issues ranging from what's happening in the corridors of current affairs. I also let you know of what makes sound in the different media platforms, that is in relation to what is happening in the world of news. And I also really as well summarize the entire discussions with what's happening in the entertainment world, that is in sports, usually where I also let you know of what's happening in that corridor in there, and that is where the show always comes in place. Each and every Mondays to Fridays, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and really today you read a lot of issues going to happen in the country. But of course, I will be breaking down all those in this remaining few minutes of the show. And I'm not alone. This morning, I've been joined by my colleague, co-host, that is Oraku Benson Pastore, after a long period of time. I don't know how we have been, and really, Benson, I want to take this opportunity now to welcome you on board. I know it has been a great and also really a long time. You're most welcome.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure. Though I am late, there is a saying that better late than never. And I want to extend my greetings to the viewers outside there, always following Western television. But at this particular moment, following the morning so-called KOKOLIRIKO, otherwise there are so many things that are happening in the whole world. But in Uganda, the one which is making headlines right now is the ongoing UAC exams all over the country. Of course, we will be touching something a little about that, plus some of the political, social, economical things that continues to transpire in our country of Uganda.
Okay, when you talk about social aspects, Benson, I want to assure you the biggest talk right now is in relation to Nyaganyege. But before we give you that discussion, let's look at what's happening in the USC. How is this progressing, and according to your own observations? Because according to one thing I was able to observe yesterday, you will get to realize some of the schools already sending back the learners for school fees, and yet this is again a directive by the Ministry of Education that no school should send the learners home for school fees, but they can retain the results when the results come out. But yesterday, a student in one of the schools, because this is a matter that we are investigating, was able to drag the school, that is to police.
First, if you take
Really, what does that say about the schools? Does that mean that schools are becoming disciplined?
If you take a look at the whole movie, these things are different. You know, we have in private schools, and as well we have government schools. And the way how these schools operate, they operate in different ways. You cannot expect a private school to operate the same way government school operates. Maybe most of these things might be happening in some of the private schools.
Of course, this is a private school.
Yeah. Why is it happening? That means, you know, mostly private schools are business schools.
And they sustain themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe the reason as to why maybe they're doing this.
Exactly.
But it's called for, because this is really against the directive. But I remember some time back, that's when the ministry came out. It used to be a scenario, Benson, over the years, where you hear that these students and these missed examinations, and this number, it used to be very much common a scenario, and that is where government came out with this policy that do not send learners home.
Yeah, it's true that the government came up with a policy that when it comes to UNEB exams, there is no need for you to expel a candidate out of exams. But there are some aspects I am looking at.
Let's talk about the financial aspect. The financial most especially for the private schools that are sustaining themselves.
The finance
and in comparison to the government-aided schools who receive money.
First of all, you take a look at the standard of all the schools. I think these schools, they have in different standards. I am talking about
Quite
the
true.
private schools. There are some schools, their standards are very low. And there are some schools, their standards are very high. I'm talking about the private schools, leaving aside the government-aided schools, because for them, it's a normal operation. Now coming to the issue of school fees, I know most of these things, expelling the candidates out of exams rooms, they are happening because they might have not been able to finish paying their school fees. Now, one thing is, what actually came over, let's assume that these are done by the school administrators, more especially the highly ranked people, let me say the headmasters. Now, a candidate has already registered for UNEB, then coming to the period of UNEB, and this candidate is expelled out of exams room. What does it mean? This is one thing, of course, you will have to ask yourself of. And also, as being a candidate, yes, we may blame some of the administrators or some of the school owners. And you see, some of these candidates, they are very stubborn. And I've been witnessing, what they only do is, they pay for UNEB fee.
And they disappear.
Once they have paid for that, they disappear. Trust me, there are some of these candidates, ever since the beginning of the 2 years, because right now, let me look at the aspect of USCE exams. What they have only paid is the UNEB fee, which is maybe 200 something there, but the real school fees they have not paid. And of course, we don't know the future status of these candidates when it comes to excelling in academics. Some of these candidates, they have just come to pass time, and they are waiting for the outcome of the results. In case they fail, that's when they will not come for the papers. In case they pass, that's when.
But right now, Benson, it is hard to get the results without paying the school fees, because it can be blocked even right away from the service providers, where people can be able to access the results. So it's just the policy of the school permitting.
Exactly, though it is like
so I think,
that.
Benson, all this is coming back from the issues of agreements. You mentioned here some of the students are very disciplined. They come and register and disappear. And this is what exactly I want to say the private schools are going through. Because for private schools, this is a business where they have to get money from the learners and to sustain the schools. First of all, pay the teachers. You get learners, some of the private schools are indeed going through a lot. And where they are in rented premises, they have to pay the landlords. And then you move to issues of paying also for food, for other incentives. And then you learn, Benson, indeed, some of these schools are going through a lot. And that also tells us that indeed there's a disagreement. Because if I come to your office and I'm able to open to you that I do not have this money at this moment, because you have seen this happening, we have all passed to that level. You get to know, if I come to you and open up to the head teacher, that indeed I do not have the money, but I wish to sit for this examination, even if you come with the parents, that this is how maybe I'm paying this amount. At the end of the day, I'm going to be paying this amount. And this is where, Benson, I feel sometimes also these policies are very much unfavorable to all the stakeholders.
True.
Because some of these learners may be knowing that, yes, government said they should not send learners home. And I really want to agree to what you say. They will come and register. After registering, then they disappear. They only say the first time or second time after registration, then you see somebody disappearing. Only to reappear for the final examination. And yet, this person has not been studying and this person has not been concentrating. So what do you think maybe this kind of person is going to be producing at the end of the day? And this is where sometimes the school administrators find it very much annoying, and that maybe results into what we did see happening. But of course, we're not also really calling for this. And two learners, of course, we also really are the ones that faced this challenge, and they were able to move to police. But today, we not also really hope that they will be coming, because I will be also really taking a camp there to see if at all they will be coming back to see also really that maybe they drag the school again. But of course, this is something, of course, we are saying is against the law.
Yeah, truly.
What you can do is have the results. Do not give it to them before they pay. Maybe after they pay.
First, the fact is, like we have just been discussing, it's all about a common understanding amidst the three parties, the students themselves, the school administrators, not forgetting about the parents. First, trust me, just like how you have emphasized, if you are a very disciplined student, you have ever been there, of course the administration will understand you. I think 1 or 2 students who might have been expelled out of class, these are students, of course, that might have been, maybe the administration might have raised the question marks over them, but the fact remains, the law permits for every candidate who has already registered for UNEB to sit for the paper. So this one is now a lesson to the rest of the students. Coming ahead of future, the future starts next year, because I am very sure that the next USE exams, they are coming next year. What I can say is this will now be in position to address some of these matters before the commencement of exams. That is the latest development we can give you as far as these exams are concerned. And also when it was the period of UCE, there was also a rumor circulating in the other parts of the country that some of the students were also expelled. And moreover, this one happened in one of the government-aided schools because of not finishing the school fees. These are the challenges our learners, our candidates continues to encounter as far as national exams are concerned. But it happens. What I can only say is government, of course, has to come together with the school administrators, not forgetting about the candidates themselves, to see that when it comes to this kind of exams, national exams, of course, these organizations are not given to the candidates.
Of course, that is what we are pushing out for, and we hope at the end of the day that these examinations move in a way that we feel they will be also moving. Benson, then you realize that indeed, as we are also really moving down, a lot of issues continue to happen. And many people also really continue to come out and also really claim certain things are happening. And Benson, if you look at the different also really media platforms, you realize there's indeed a lot of challenges that people are going through. But really, what would be your message as we are closing down this year? Because we are now just left with about a month, and most probably some 2 weeks or so, some few days, to see that this year comes to an end. What would be your advice for one person who is out there feeling that this is not their year?
First, if you take a look at the whole of this year, you know...
Maybe on your side, how has it been?
This year, I should say, I am still alive. I should say generally, it has been 50-50 scenario. 50-50 scenario because when you plan yourself at the beginning of the year, sometimes you may not be in position to achieve what you had planned at the beginning of the year. Sometimes you achieve halfway, sometimes you achieve a quarter of it, sometimes you go past. It all depends on how you plan yourself. And I believe 70% of what you plan for, of course, the finance plays a key role in it. Then to the outsiders, what I can say is, not every year not that in every year you will be expected to perform very well in every year. This might be a down year for you. The upcoming year you may be in a position to perform very well. As I had said earlier on, it depends on how you plan yourself, the goals. So there are so many things. For you, if you have failed to achieve it, you plan it in the upcoming year. Okay. And in the upcoming year, you sit down, early January, you sit down. These were the goals I did set last year. I failed in this one.
To the youths who are really feeling that this is not their year, who must be giving up, the advice from me to them will be that tomorrow is another day. That means next year is still your year. And if you do not attain this year, there's no need for you to give up. Not everyone is going to be attaining on the same day. You should just continue doing what you're doing the best way. And at the end of the day, the blessings will be pouring on you. And that my advice to them will be that tomorrow is another day. That means next year is still another day. Benson, really, if you look at what's happening right now, many stakeholders have been talking about the issues of some party called Nyege Nyege that also goes down in Jinja. And right now you realize that also really Jinja born again pastors have now joined the Busoga East Diocese Paul, that is Bishop, that is Paul Hannington Subi, to protest the hosting, that is of the event in Jinja, which also really said to be starting in the next few days. And that is exactly what we are seeing, because many of times people have been talking about this event, but others could not be understanding, because we see people coming from all over the country. Others even come from Arua, they go for this event. Others from the other East African countries, others even from abroad. They all come for this event. But stories we hear from this event are usually very much alarming. And that is why the clerics from that side, led by also the bishop of that area, have come out to condemn this. Now the born-again pastors have as well as rallied behind him to also make sure that they protest at this event, which has also been supported by a number of the leaders from the sub-region. But Benson, what do you think really this event is really bringing as a curse to the people of this country? Let's talk about importation of culture first.
First of all, when you talk about something like event comes with so many things, so many numerous things. First of all, the positivity part of it is there, and also the negativity part of it is there. And right now, people are looking at the negativity part of it. And the good thing is religious leaders, of course, have been involved in protesting against it. Because you see, whenever something is happening or something is about to happen and you see religious leaders protesting against, that means it's something which will not yield something positive. And this is going to be the right time for stakeholders in government to come in, to intervene, to see that they calm the situation.
And also but they have already approved, meaning the event will be going on.
And also
is that a good gesture? Because as the pastors are protesting, the government has already cleared. The event is on.
To me, I think for something to yield positivity, government officers, of course, will have to agree with religious leaders to see that the thing moves on very well. But if we are seeing the negative part of it, they are splitting. On the other side, the religious leaders are protesting. Meanwhile, for government, they are supporting. I don't think it is something which, of course...
Do you know where the pastors are basing the argument that this event promotes homosexuality, then the bad cultures, most especially that is being imported from the Europeans? And this event, of course, we see that happening. And if you move these events, we have seen it happening. Based on the one fact I will be able to solely tell you about this event, we have seen the bad part. The exposure of the African traditions, that is also related to importation of the bad cultures. Then you realize that indeed the pastors have a reason to fight this event, but I really want to say...
And me, I see government officers as one of the icons when it comes to guarding or as protecting our culture. But now, if they are allowing such kind of things to happen on the other side, the religious leaders, who are also one of the icons when it comes to protecting our culture, they are protesting against it. And you have mentioned one or two negativity part of it. That means we Ugandans, we are driving ourselves somewhere. I think government, of course, will have to intervene to this one. And first, and government, of course, will have to analyze it. Not just something is happening, you boom for it, you give freedom. You first have to analyze it. Okay. You analyze the positive part of it, you analyze the negative part of it.
Benson, really, if I happen to have worked maybe to have been working in government, of course, I'm not. If I had the opportunity, I wouldn't want to see this event go on. Why? You said we should analyze the positives and negatives of this event. The positives are there. I want to start with the positives. One, the people of Jinja get a lot of money in these events. First of all, in terms of food, accommodation, you get a lot of people getting a lot of money in this event. And then the revelers who come to entertain. Our artists here also as well get the platform because it is a marathon where every time by just having fun. It is typically having fun, which of course is good for somebody's mental health because many of the times people go through a lot. Others feel they need to spend their monies because they're depressed in different ways and they feel they need to relieve themselves out of that stress. That is why they go for these events. But the negative part is actually, to me, the most overwhelming. Let's talk about the issues of prostitution. Most of the girls go into this activity just for prostitution, and many of them also go for that. We have seen scenarios, we have seen stories where people say, my wife told me that she is going to the village to see the relatives, only to see pictures of her circulating when she's for Nyege Nyege. One artist sang that. It happened, and I believe this is exactly what's happening in society. Then the issues of importation of culture, homosexuality, of course, which is something many people are fighting against today. you will get to know that it's also happening, this activity. The gays, lesbians are happening. So I think it's really something very much bad. And whereas leaders, we must all speak the same language of saying no to this event. But Benson, one story solely and one rumor has it that this event comes with a lot of money. There's a lot of money that is being injected in this event. And that is why sometimes people find it very difficult to fight it. But really, is it worth? The question remains, are the positives worth the negatives?
Exactly.
Should we give up on the negatives, maybe on the few negatives? Should we give using also really the few positives to outshine the majority positives? And I think that is where Benson we will be also weighing, and that is where we must also come to a consensus after weighing the two, the positives and negatives. And Benson, I will assure you that the positives are actually very few compared to the negatives that comes solely as a result of this event. But of course we are following, and we shall be letting you know of what unfolds from there, and also really more details, of course, that we also will be coming through. That is on the Chukuchuku, and I believe the team also will be giving you that entertainment news of what also is happening in Ginger in there. That will also be coming through. That's with MC Sarge, Liz Honey, also the big brother who is currently absent, and also DJ Mosh. They will be discussing that later on. Let's give it to them entirely.
Actually, bro,
with that discussion.
bro, before we get away from that subtopic, one key thing I want to emphasize about the upcoming event is actually you have analyzed the whole thing. You have talked about the positive part of it and also the negative part of it. Yes, the positives might be very many, but the negatives might be very few. Yeah, the negative might even be one. But the positives might be over 10. But that one negative might change is huge. Might have so much impact in the whole of the nation. So whenever you are organizing, in summary, whenever you are organizing an event, don't just think about the money part of it, because money is, everyone needs money. There is no one who will want to stay.
We all love money.
Yeah. And every time, every person has got his or her own way of getting money.
Quite true.
But there are some things, of
that
course,
are very bad, of course. We cannot also just let go of. Benson, if you look at really our culture, today many people are saying our culture is at the verge of disappearing. And indeed it is true. Let's look at how our elders used to dress and how they used to eat. You will realize that indeed that is something also really that has deteriorated. It means our cultures have gone down. And when you talk about cultural degeneration, there's really a huge task we have to play, and that is why the different leaders must come up and establish cultural centers that can be able to preserve this cultural heritage. For instance, like how we dress, how we dance, they're disappearing because we are now talking about importation of culture. And my humble appeal to the youth, as we summarize this hour, is that let's avoid tendencies of also really misusing the money. Let's use the money very well, even if you have a lot of money.
First, I want to involve you into one thing. I know we only left with very few seconds. You know, there is this tendency of, there is a difference between a brand and wealth. Is it good when you have wealth and your brand is spoiled?
But these people have already established their brand. It is upon you to judge what kind of brand it is. And with that, we are going to be taking a short commercial break. Benson, we shall be also touching on that discussion in a few seconds in the later hour. But for now, we are running for the short commercial break. When we get back, we still have lots to discuss with you. But you can keep on your thoughts and opinions coming through. Of course, we shall be reading them through in the next hour on whether this event should continue or not. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
In the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back to the short commercial break. We are 5 minutes into 8 o'clock, which is already our second hour, and this is still a KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV, channel 477 on StarTimes. On Zuku, we are on channel 0073, not forgetting Azam on channel number 369. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board in a special way from wherever you're watching us from, and my name is Farish Majid. I also happen not to be alone. I'm with Oracle Benson Pastore, and we are going to be discussing a lot of issues happening right in the current affairs world, and especially also we shall be touching on some of those discussions up to 9 o'clock. And earlier on, we are talking about the issue of Nyeganyega event, which has now been cleared by the government and leaving many stakeholders unhappy, most especially the clergy, who feel that this event comes with a lot of burden and a lot of issues on the society. And that is where I was engaging Benson on that discussion. And maybe in the next 30 seconds, Benson, what can you summarize about this event? Should we allow it to go on? And maybe in future, should we think of banning this event? Or we should allow it to continue? That's because it is bringing for us a lot of money as government.
First of all, though the citizens are part of the government, we have been the representatives of government, those top officials. Once they approve on something like this, the lower citizens, they have to say about it, they have to abide the idea they have already come up with it. The only thing, of course, the masses at large will have to do is how you control yourself, because we have already talked a lot, and some of these people, they have attended the event before, they know the effects of it, they know where to gain out of it. The only thing for the legends who have been into the event before, of course, they should take care of themselves. Meanwhile, the new entries, the teenagers who are yet to
the first timers.
So you have to also know how to control yourself. All in all, we have discussed the negative part of it and also the positive part of it. Just take care of yourself. Okay. That's what I can say.
Taking care of yourself is in very many ways. Let's avoid tendencies of drug abuse, alcohol consumption, because the world is not a safe place today. We have seen stories of people getting a lot of issues in there, getting diseases, getting pregnant to people whom they don't know just because they are drunk. Because really, based on if you see what happens in this event, then definitely you will know why it is not a good event. But all in all, for those who want to go, it is your choice. The life is yours, and we are wishing you the very best also really as the event is coming. But also really, on my own opinion, I wouldn't want to see this event go on. But somebody out there may be saying, look at this fellas, talking about this event. But all in all, it is entirely in your hands to either go for it or stay. And really, I wouldn't want to also encourage somebody to go for that. But campaigning it, of course, it's my own opinion, not the opinion of the station. neither of the management, but of course my own opinion and my own thought as an individual, and that is where Benson coming to an end with that discussion and to look at some of those discussions already happening elsewhere. A Muslim cleric has been arrested over trafficking 7 girls in Shema district, and this is where we did see police in Shema district have arrested a Muslim cleric over trafficking at least 7 girls, and that is what we are seeing. And if you look at issues of human trafficking, today it is happening in the different also religious societies. And now, according to him, the alleged human trafficking was committed on November 11th of this year at Chitagata Town Council in Sema district, and that is where we did see, according to authorities, accused the mom of trafficking 7 girls aged under 12 years, with the youngest being 3 years old. How do we ensure that the issues of human trafficking end in this country?
First, the fact is this is something which is rampant, and each and every month and each and every hour it's increasing, each and every minute it is going beyond. I think the satanic world is trying to overpower people. Because I remember when we are still teenagers growing, it was not rampant like this, but of late you move all over the country. At least every month, every week you hear about this kind of saga, and it is something. But you look at this one. This is the person is a religious leader. Now you look at the kind of movie he is.
You know, Benson, when you talk about human trafficking, today we have had the negative parts of this activity, where people are being told, give me your sons and daughters, I'm taking them for school, I'm going to find them also for them a school where they will be studying. But at the end of the day, we have had stories where some have ended up in rebel groups and rebel activities, for instance the ADF. And Benson, I really want to say it is a bad story, and also really a sad story as well, because if you look at the girl of 12 years and then the youngest of 3 years old, what can this do? Because these are minors who do not also really understand how they will also really be dealt with. Because if you even if subject them to tendencies of maybe early marriage, they will still not know, because we have had stories of what we call rape happening, and we have had stories of human trafficking. But human trafficking, actually, Benson, it is quite common today with also the issues of poverty, where parents can easily be told, give me your daughter, I'm going to pay for them, I'm going to find for them a school. And of course, that is really a great concern, and a great also issue which I want to also tell the people of West Nile sub-region, most especially my parents in here, that let's avoid tendencies. Let's pay for our girls in these schools. Let's take them to these UPE schools where less money is being paid. Let's educate them, because we must also not leave the entire burden of educating our children on some of those issues. Because if at all we think scholarships enough, then really sometimes it becomes a danger to our children as well. We want to say that yes, scholarships are there, because personally I have also really seen a beneficiary from my family where one of my followers was able to study under a scholarship of such nature. But today we have also had stories of bad activities happening where these children are being taken from their different places. The last time it was in Yumbe, where we had children also being taken from Yumbe, and they end up somewhere where they were also said to be trafficked into rebel activities in the DRC. So I think this is really something very much bad, but at the end of the day, as parents, we have a bigger role to play in terms of ensuring our children's safety.
Yeah, still discussing about this matter. Yeah, someone out might say that government, of course, will need to intervene. To me, I think government plays a very minimum role into this one. Much of the role, of course, has to be played by the parents, because you, like you have said, someone is coming to you, is saying that you give me your children, I'm going to pay for them. And of course, because you are poor, you are broke, you cannot afford to pay the school fees of the child, or the school fees of the children. Just out of pressure, you rush handing over your children to such kind of people. Registration, I think the only way is, yeah, the NGOs are there, and also Good Samaritans are there, who always come on board to help your children. We are giving an example, like people
so
who...
what would be your advice to that parent who is vulnerable and an opportunity knocks? What should they do?
I think
they say no?
we actually discussing the issue of like parents handing over their children to be educated to
Because
people who haven't. We are using it as an example.
So if you look at human trafficking today, it's a quite huge scenario.
Yeah, it is
Taken from different places, and made a lot of promises. Benson, I want to give you a scenario where children are being taken from this area. they are telling them that they are going to be educated. They are taking them for education.
That's why we are using the example of education.
They will tell your children that we are taking them for education in Kampala, because this is a quite common name they use. We are taking them to Kampala. We are going to educate them. At the end of the day, we see these children being taken to some of the schools that has been not in Kampala. That's already a lie. We have had stories where girls are being trafficked. Human trafficking, by the way, is also really a big task, which we must also talk about. Girls are being told they're going to be getting jobs in countries like maybe neighboring countries like Kenya, Tanzania. They are being taken in there. At the end of the day, when they end up as maids, they end up as prostitutes on the streets, they end up suffering. Yet the promise will not fulfill because the channels they were used also for being taken outside were not well. And that also is termed as human trafficking. So I think human trafficking is indeed something which is also something worth offer.
First, I think the only thing is also sensitizing people about, and also people of course will have to do thorough registration. Like if it's someone, or as maybe, let me just say anyone is coming like it.
This is how I'm looking at it. If somebody comes to you that I am taking your child for this scholarship, because some of the times when it is relatives who come and do this human trafficking, with relatives being engaged in this practice, what you need to do is take your time to research. Research about the schools they're telling you about. Find time to talk about it. Interact. Because if you don't open up about issues of such caliber, then you'll be taken. Because we have heard stories, people paying money to be taken outside, but they're trafficked. And where do they find themselves? They find themselves in trouble. Because we have had issues of also some of these people who are being caught up in human trafficking. They are not also really about only that. There are cases and scenarios where somebody is being trafficked out of the country, but as they're moving away, we find them being arrested for issues of drug trafficking, because sometimes they don't even know how they're going, and the things are put on them. And we have had stories where people land themselves in trouble. So all let's avoid issues of business fights. Even if we want to sort of get opportunities, let's find out the opportunities in the best way. Let's take our time to research. So solely we don't land ourselves in trouble, and that is where Benson we must soon go back to our communities. Because these guys are coming back to our cities. Look at what's happening in the streets. These children who are begging, these children are trafficked on the streets. Because if you talk about human trafficking, it's happening both domestically and internationally. And when we talk about domestically, today we have children who are being brought from the villages onto the cities. They are trafficking. Benson, I remember at the time also here to talk about officials from also the Ministry of Internal Affairs. We had a lengthy discussion about this issue. And then you will learn, Benson, it is actually high time that we join hands and talk about this issue of human trafficking, because indeed it's happening, and that is where in our society as stakeholders, as the parents, let's get closer to our children. Let's avoid tendencies of wanting to take our children to live with the relatives. At the end of the day, these children are going to be trafficked. And also really they won't be facing the negative challenges of this human trafficking, because at the end of the time, Benson, you will realize children are being also taken advantage of, persons being exploited in terms of labor, their organs being removed. These are stories that and also really which I want to say are associated with these dangers of human trafficking. First of all, cheap labor, sexual exploitation, organ transplant. These are issues that we have had over the years in relation to these dangers of human trafficking, and this is where it is.
First, one thing I want to say is it sounds funny, and also the worst part of it is it doesn't only happen with the illiterate people, and also some of the literate people, like let me say Arua. People are looking at the capital city of Uganda, Kampala, as one of the iconic places. Whenever someone is heading to Kampala, it is as if the person is heading to UK. And once it reaches abroad, like heading to UK, as if the person is going to heaven. Once such kind of opportunities come like this, people always crazy of it. You cannot mind of the person who is taking you in those places. You can't do research like you said about such a person. Just because you are crazy of it. Even some of the learners, like some of these people who are involved in the trafficking, once they come to a parent that I am taking your kid, whereas you are a child, to Kampala for studies in one of the best schools we have in the country, of course you become crazy. You don't know what kind of the person, you don't know what the kind of person who is trying to take your child that side. As you had said, thorough investigation, research and also thorough registration. Of course, there are some stages, of course, you will have to undergo with your child before you hand over him or her to such kind of an organization, as to such kind of a. What I want to say is research is very key, investigation, lastly, registration. So
Okay.
that is where, of course, we will be in possible.
And my appeal will be that whoever is caught up in this practice of human trafficking must face the law. And that also connects us to the next story, which we are seeing on the monitor this morning, where the Judicial Service Commission has been empowered by appointment of 25 more magistrates. And that is exactly what we must also really be able to appreciate, because if you look at issues of case backlog, then Benson, you will know why the courts are very much overwhelmed. And that is why it's much difficult to move to the courts, because they keep on adjourning. Today they say, come on this day, it's adjourned. This month, it's adjourned. Why? It is because the courts are overwhelmed. First of all, the numbers of the judicial service officers are very few, and that is where today we must also really appreciate and also really thank also the government for these appointments. Now that the Judicial Service Commission has also in this exercise also of constitutional mandate has appointed 25 judicial officers. That is to the lower bench. That is already the administration of justice. And today, one of those issues already which we are seeing happening within the justice court processes, which we also really feel is very much also really bad, because they're saying justice delayed is justice denied, and that is where we must also really ensure that the court processes are very much smooth. And today, to also really avoid this, we are seeing issues of alternative dispute resolutions being also promoted, and issues also really of also really making sure people settle their issues by themselves. Going to be everywhere. That is where today several initiatives are coming up in place. Benson, to have also these issues also of people making sure people resolve their issues themselves. And that is why the courts are very much overwhelmed. Because you look at issues, many cases are in the courts of law, but they're not being resolved. Why? Because the judges are very few. And
True.
Today we have also seen 25 more people being appointed. And I will be asking you, maybe you think how should be working. And according to the media statement released on Wednesday, the appointments comprise of 12 acting chief magistrates appointed on a one-year contract and 7 senior principal magistrates, one for grade, well, that's also really grade 1 magistrate, and that's where we're also seeing 4 principal magistrates also in grade 1, and 2 senior magistrates, that's also to serve the grade 1 magistrate as courts appointed in substantive capacities. And some of the newly appointed magistrates also are Irene Nambatia, Sunura Nambozo, and Trinity Lumunye, who have also been appointed in there. And the also appointees are acting chief magistrates, among whom includes Her Worship Nambatia Irene. We have His Worship Ojok Tony Obonyo. We have His Worship Okonga Stella Pakular, Her Worship also in there. We have Lumunye Matthew. We have Asimwe Abat. We have His Worship Gimugu Kibiri Kenneth. We have Her Worship Nasos Rehema Sebowa. We have our worship, that is Birunji Fiona, and His Worship Martins, and His Worship Kwesiga Joseph, and our worship Ndagire Patricia, who have been appointed in there. Meanwhile, to some senior principal magistrate grade 1 also positions, we have our worship Shobia Ronald Kamia, His Worship. We have our worship Nambo Sunula. We have Sunula Aishu. We have also Watekra George. We have Basaja Balaba Jalia. We have Kauka Paul Jatiko Winnie Nancha, who have also been appointed to those positions. Meanwhile, to principal magistrates grade 1, we have His Worship Tio Jonathan. We have His Worship, that's Kasule Sumaya. We have Her Worship, that is also Kelo Irene, and Her Worship Turimbamwe Christine, and who have been appointed to those positions. Meanwhile, to senior magistrate grade 1 positions, we have Her Worship Karamagi Pamela May. We have Osilo Okoth Jacob to those positions in their Benson. What really do you think maybe this should be able to do upon also taking these positions? And do you think this is going to be addressing the issues of case backlog within the courts?
Say yes, because whenever there is an increasement or in the number of those people, of course you expect a positive result. But now, these people, they have been promoted and others have been added. What about the facilities? This is also another thing we need to address. Yeah, you might be employing very many people in judicial services. Why are they going to work? This is one thing, of course, you need to look at. We have
existing courts of laws.
Yeah, they are there. Are they of standard? Are there so many? This is another thing, of course, we need to look at. Because if you take the whole of Western region, how many do we have standard operating judiciary facilities. This is one thing, of course, people also want to know. Whenever they're also working on the other sector, of course, they also need to look at the facility part of it. And also judiciary services, truly, the cases, of course, so many, they have not been handled because of the number of judicial officers. There have been very few. Now the number has been worked on. I think to some extent it will help in addressing some of the cases that have been so pending because of the inadequate of judicial officers. To me, I see this one as a very good move, but I also want government, I appeal to government to also work on the facilities. To me, I don't think they're enough. Of course, more, of course, will have to be established.
Okay. Listen to that, and we hope at the end of the day, this will be also yielding fruits. We want to wish them the very best because these are appointed substantive positions, meaning after 1 year, if they not also perform the expectations, the contracts may not be renewed. But of course, we want to say we are wishing them the very best. We want to see their contracts be renewed and their commitments also really must be also really appreciated. And at the end of the day, that calls for one, integrity and serving entirely with one heart. That is what we want. And at the end of the day, that is exactly what we shall be seeing also really bringing change in there. Now, let's head to Kusenyi, where authorities are calling for improved fire safety. That is the schools also. There's a measure for also ensuring that no property is being lost. And this follows a suspected action at Nyakabanga Vocational Secondary School in Kusenyi district. And witnesses have also really reported seeing an individual leaving the boys' dormitory with a jerrycan in hands. And that is also really a few minutes later, we're able to see also the fire, according to the officials and also the reports also from that in there. And that is exactly what we are seeing happening. And the dormitory, only dormitory getting banned. It's the second dormitory we are seeing also really happening in changes, also having also the issues of fire in there. And that is what we are seeing based on. And remember, the case is still being investigated by the greater police also pushing there. And at the end of the day, if you look at the issues of fires, how empowered is the fire brigade of Uganda police? Let's start it from there.
You see the issues to be done with the fire outbreak. Yeah, we may say that brigade, they are supposed to play a crucial role whenever there is a fire outbreak somewhere. But to some extent, let me look at the aspect of it happening in some of the schools, or as in some of the hospitals, because in most cases they do happen though in these places. This time, let's take a look at specifically the schools. One thing, of course, we must know is these schools, they have got their guards. In Lemas language, we call them watchmen. Askaris or as watchmen who are supposed to guard the area, who is the area, whether it been during the day, whether it been at night. Of course, they will have to keep the consistency when it comes to guarding the area. How comes that people always fluke with jerrycans of petrol, diesel in these schools? At the end, you see fire outbreak. I think this is one key thing, of course, we need to address. What are they doing? What are these askaris doing? Do they only sit at the gate, registering the visitors, or the students who are moving out, who are getting in, or is the visitors? I think these schools, of course, will have to employ maximum number of askaris.
The schools have been directed by the government to have emergency exit doors in terms of fires, because we have had scenarios of learners dying as a result of these fires. But the first incident in this country, which I also got to know about these fires, was the Bunde Junior incident, that left a number of children dead. And then the one that also happened in Rakai, where the boys' dormitory also caught fire and children died. But Benson, in most cases, if you are to trace the background, sometimes it is actually as a result of disagreements within the school themselves and the school administration, or the school administration and the community.
It's true. It is true. Very true.
So to avoid all this, it is high time that we sit on a right person. Let's agree on this is where we can possibly agree on.
I think first,
really, there's a lot more that we need to do.
First, that is the best solution. But government saying that schools, of course, will have to construct blocks that have emergency exits. Me, I don't see that one. First of all, you are constructing a dormitory. that is having an emergency exit. Does it mean don't the construction blocks? This time, let's talk specifically about the dormitories that have been there before. Of course, will have to be rehabilitated.
Down.
But I don't think, because it's like issues to be done with the fire uncalled for things. They do happen at any time.
The accidents.
But
let's call them as accidents.
Me, like the issue of government saying that every structure, of course, will have to be having emergency exit. Me, I don't see it working. The only thing, like you have said, is maybe the school administrators with the pupils, with the learners, let me use that term, and also the community members. Of course, they will have to employ a very good working relationship. That's why, of course, we of things.
Okay, Benson, this is because sometimes you realize the disagreements actually coming back from the students. If a student is expelled from school A, in most cases they come back and also want to do a lot of harm by revenging. And what they do, they come back and set the school dormitories on fire because they want to put everyone at loss. Then the community members, if they are land wrangles, because these are issues where sometimes we investigate, if they ask what could have caused the fire, they ask, could there have been maybe an issue of disagreements where people could be conflicting? Those are issues that we also really feel over the years have been causing these issues of the fire. But really, is it enough? Because we have had stories based on this. If you really look at issues of fires in schools, it is either as a result of illegal wiring or somebody sets this fire. There's somebody who is behind these fires. But in most cases, only we see that happening. And at the end of the day, we have seen learners losing property, money, books, lives as well.
And also,
and that is where it puts parents at risk.
Rebels also sometimes they penetrate into these
the last
schools.
incident was in Kasese, where the primary school was set on blaze. People lost their lives. So at the end of the day, Benson, I really feel there's a lot more that we must also continue advocating for as we get also to move on. Because the issue of fire today may be in Barara. We may see it happening the next day in the eastern. The other day it may come to the north. So I think it is high time also the schools embrace new technologies. First of all, like CCTV camera installation also in there. And then secondly, having the fire extinguishers in place. In case there's any fire outbreak, they can be able to solely put up this fire timely. But sometimes, Benson, as you said, some of the schools don't adhere to these proposals. First of all, how many schools do you think have built the dormitories in the last 5 years adhering to the call of having emergency fire outbreaks? Personally, I've not seen any. It means it goes back to also the issues of physical planning that must also be implemented according to also the guidelines in there. It means the government officials, the physical planners, and the building committee members must be able to go to some of these schools and check if these schools adhere to this call. But I don't know how maybe in the last 5 years, if at all you have removed the schools, because this law has been there for some time, but it's not been implemented fully.
First, before we go for the break, let's alert viewers on one thing, one key thing. Since we are still discussing schools, I want us to talk about the issue of strikes. This year, have you ever heard of a strike being in one of the schools in West Nile region? Have you heard of it?
This time round, I want to say, as West Nile region, we are proud of all learners.
Okay, we are coming for that in the.
We have had 1 or 2 manifestations, but of course, which have been controlled. More discussion. We'll be coming into the last half of the discussions. My name is Faris Majid, and I'm still together with Oracle Benson Pastore. And our final destination, of course, remains 9 o'clock. That's when Fete Emmanuel will be coming through with the news bulletin. But we take this breather.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
the dance of shadows and light lies the heart of Uganda's resilience amidst the challenges of the night, where innovation meets necessity and education refuses to be dimmed, where connection thrives in the absence of power. Embrace the power of the sun with StarTime's solar range of solutions and empower your journey towards a brighter tomorrow. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back into the discussions. We're into the final minutes of the show, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome you on board. In case you joined us right in time, we began this hour of the morning, I want to say thank you so much. In case you as well joining us right now, you are also still welcome in a special way. And in case you are watching us for the very first time, this is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV channel 477 that comes your ways every Mondays to Fridays, right from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. With me, Farish Majid, where on some of the issues we bring guests to also analyze on some of those issues which are of great importance, and that could also be trending. And also really on some of the days we also really share thoughts and share opinions with you on what you feel be done in society and what could have been possibly going wrong in the society and how best we can transform that is why we are here. Because as West Nile Television, our number one mandate remains that you enlighten the region. And of course, I am not going to be doing that alone as an individual. And as a television, of course, we are not going to be doing that alone as a stakeholder, but rather we have to join hands and make sure that we transform the society together. And today, really, on a quite good note, I'm not alone. I'm still together with my co-host, that's Oracle Benson Pastore. And earlier on, we're discussing about issues of what we call discipline. Today, we do not also take this for granted, where we also have to come back and also praise and also really thank the different stakeholders for making this possible. It's not only that every time you're going to be coming here and talk about the indiscipline. What about the positives? Why don't we acknowledge the positives? And today, you know that most of our schools are actually very peaceful. No strikes. True. It goes back to all the stakeholders. Benson, I want to assure you that there are a lot of people involved in this. We have over the years seen the security leaders moving to different schools. Last year, I was able to see the community liaison office of Arua Central Police Station PC moving to some of the schools with the RCC. This year, we have seen the same strategy. I think it's working out. And this is where I want to really thank the new RCC for taking up from where his colleague left. And I want to say it is still peaceful. And that means Salim Kumaket is already doing what is expected out of him. And I want to praise him as the head of security in the city. And that is working. It's not only happening within the city alone. And I want to thank the RDCs already within the different districts. They are doing a tremendous job in terms the children are safe. It also goes back to the schools to understand what kind of learners, which I feel they have done so, and that is why we are seeing peace in our schools. What would you say this? What do you attribute this to?
Exactly. We need to congratulate all the stakeholders. You have mentioned about the security officers. You talk about the school administrators, the parents themselves, because I know before these learners are sent to school, they are always lectured, they are always sensitized by their parents. We appreciate their effort, not forgetting about leaving the other stakeholders my biggest appreciation, congratulations, goes to the learners themselves, because the security officers, the parents, the school administrators, however much they sensitize them, once they still have that negative ideology, once they still possess that negative mentality, of course, you will still see strides coming on board. You take let me try to flash back. You take a look at the last 2 years, 2023 and in majority of the schools we have it in Western Nile region, it was rampant. But this year, trust me, it has not been there. Maybe if it is there, it has been to a minimum extent and maybe indoors. But the fact remains, this year has really been a peaceful year as far as the strikes are concerned.
With the exception of one school, which I will also want to talk about on here, and I will be telling you maybe which school that one is as we move out of the show. But of course, we want to thank them. In that school is already being brought under control. We hope such scenarios not happen again, because all those things paint a wrong image, first of all, of the region and also of the country as well. But we are hoping for the very best. I wouldn't want to mention the name, of course, and I will be letting you know that later on. But of course, who is watching, maybe who is watching us right now, could be knowing that school, but we're not going to be talking about that discussion. But Benson, as we get move on, we will have a lot of issues going to happen in the country, where you will also see that in world of sports, people already in really a lot of letting you know all that what's happening and how the competition is getting stiff. You will be also letting us know that later on. But before we move on with these discussions, I will be also touching something small about the American president-elect Donald Trump. He has come out to speak something about immigrants and those who went illegally in the country. There's danger that he's going to be deporting them. What does that mean for those who traveled to the country illegally? That discussion will be coming later on, but also before that, let's now see what's happening elsewhere, where court has ordered